Hey all, welcome to the Art of the Budget. I'm Nicole and I'm an artist and educator, and I'm recently trying to figure out all this money stuff, take control of it, use it wisely, and plan for the future. So if you're interested in that, you can hit subscribe to see the videos that are going to be coming up shortly. Today we're doing a weekly review. I'm just going to be entering in some transactions. I have kind of a lot of transactions. That's just because I get my paycheck, and as I mentioned before, I put it all in, including like federal taxes, health insurance, all of that. So you'll see all of those coming out. So let's get into it. So I actually did go through and I made some adjustments. Like I found out what my electric bill was, and then I adjusted it to take care of some things I hadn't accounted for. And I'm going to try not to do that. Moving forward, I'll do it when I'm recording so that you can see it. So sorry about that, but it'll be clear in a moment. Okay, so let's get into these transactions. First of all, I have the office. That's a restaurant. I had some drinks with some friends yesterday. And let's see, next is Rocky. This is a donation I made to a friend whose chicken coop got invaded by a predator animal, and they needed some help taking their chicken to the vet. And I love chickens. I used to have chickens when I lived in the place across the country where I lived before. So anyway, I didn't have a lot to spare, but I decided to share some funds with them, and I'm just going to take that out of personal money. All right, so yesterday it was this really hectic day, and I ended up grabbing some well, actually it was delicious, but some quick lunch at Starbucks. I went to therapy this week, so I had a copay for that, $30. Here's a couple of those cafe costs from like my little walk that I do over to our culinary students cafeteria and kind of bakery area, and I often get little snacks, sometimes to share, most of the time not to share. Okay, and then I had an interest charge on one of my credit cards. I know it's shameful. So I just kind of miscalculated, and I hopefully this will not ever happen again. But as I think I mentioned, I was churning credit cards for flight expenses. So even though I did get this $10.52 interest charge, I am still way ahead in terms of the rewards that I got, because I got a sign-on bonus. This allowed me to buy a cross-country flight, or not buy, to get a cross-country flight for free. So that was my mistake. So just to be clear, I got charged some interest on my credit card, which shouldn't happen again, but I was kind of playing the points game to get free flights, and so $10.52, I'm still way ahead, if that makes sense. And maybe I'll make a video on that kind of thing in the future, but I have to say there's so many good videos on churning credit cards, which you should not do if you struggle at all with paying off your credit cards on time. But if you don't have a problem with that and you like to travel or have to travel a lot, I think it's interesting to learn about. So I'm going to take that out of personal money, because obviously it was not planned for. Okay, so now we're getting to my paycheck. So I'm just going to scooch down to this insurance and tax section. So total federal and taxes taken out was a little over $342. Health insurance, $39. So that's per paycheck, and I get paid twice in a month. This is other like federal stuff, and I'm going to drop that in. For my in my retirement, what I do is I record it as a transaction, and then at the end of the month, just to say that was $215.54, and it's a little different right now because it's taken out of both my full-time pay and also my adjuncting pay, and so it's at the end of the month, when I know what it is, I'll actually change this number and I'll delete the transactions so that, and I've made it a fund. So it's obviously not correct because interest is building, and also my company, my organization puts money into it as well. But this just gives me kind of a running record of what I've contributed over the year. And when I do my updates for my net worth, I go online and I get the exact number of what I've contributed and what interest there is. But this just gives me like a running thing. So I'll put these in as transaction, this first one in as a transaction. On the second paycheck, I'll actually just add them together and change this number and delete the transaction so it continues to build this fund. Okay, let's get back to these union dues. I think this is back to normal now, or pretty close. I'm gonna go back up. I do kind of have like a little problem with this awesome cafe of our culinary students, or it's not really a problem. It's pretty fun. It's a nice way to spend $1 and support the students and get a little treat for my day. I'm gonna put in my paycheck, and I had to renew tabs, so that was the thing that I did not account for. My original, I just didn't go back and look at last November. This is on my spreadsheet. This is in my last year's every dollar. I don't know how I missed it, but I did just adjust it, which I will do on camera if that comes up in the future. But I did just kind of adjust my budget to make it work. So it was $103.75 to renew my tabs. And what I've actually done is now, starting in December, I made this a fund, and I also made it an expense in my bank account. So every month it will pull a 1/12 of that amount, and so next year it'll be sitting there waiting for me. All right, I went to the grocery store to pick something up, and I actually went to f.i.r.e, which is kind of like a Target or like a Walmart. It's a grocery store, but then it also has other stuff, and I needed to create a split because I bought some grocery stuff. Basically, I bought bread and almond milk, which I forgot to get on the weekend, and I also bought a pair of leggings. So I'm gonna put those under personal. Okay. All right. And Office Depot shipping. So I have an exhibition up in Florida right now, and part of it is interactive, and I ended up needing to send a little bit more of the supplies needed. And so that was somewhat unexpected. Normally I do a little bit of money for shipping, and this month I didn't. So I will have to deal with that eventually. I think it will work out, but I'm just gonna stick this under shipping just to keep it tidy and just to make sure I'm reminding myself in the future, like I really do need to be allotting for shipping each month in case something comes up. As I mentioned before, I just treat my artwork, even though I'm doing it seriously, I'm not necessarily having a lot of commercial or financial like boon from it. So I treat it for tax purposes like a hobby, because I don't think I would make profit every year, and you can only, not make profit for so many years. And also most of the money that I make comes from things like artist talks or workshops, and those are reported, and I get a 1099 for those. So my amount that I claim, which is just a normal amount, I've never gotten a huge tax return, but the amount that I claim for my 9-to-5 job has typically covered the taxes. It just means I don't get a return, or I get a really small return. That's sort of worked out, but as I'm progressing and doing more of these artist gigs, I need to probably start taking out taxes. So I'm hoping that having this channel will make me a little more accountable for that kind of stuff. So we'll kind of be learning together. I think next month I'm going to have a sort of session with a friend of mine who's an accountant and get some of these questions that I have squared away, and I'll be happy to share that information. She actually offered to come on the channel and be a guest, so we might have a Q&A. So anyway, those are all my transactions for the week. I will see you again in another week. Thanks for watching.